All right, the sheriff has left the building. All right, now we have for you one of our exciting young parliamentarians. She has been leading the charge in Parliament. So ladies and gentlemen, get ready and look for Miss Santia Bradshaw. She is going to come and share with you what has been happening, where our Parliament now is being used as an instrument of terror.
Good night, people. Barbados Labour Party family, how you feeling? 90 more days. If they call it in 9 hours, if they call it in 90 days, it don't matter. The Barbados Labour Party is going to be the next administration of this country. Frondell Stewart, your time is up. And it is time for the Barbados Labour Party under the leadership of Mayor Amor Montley to take back control of this country. You know, it pains me in this country to see what is happening to our people, to see the disillusionment that is taking place across Barbados. No matter where I go in this country, people continue to ask questions about the governance of Barbados. If you go outside of Barbados, people are asking, Santia, what happened to Barbados all of a sudden? What is it that has now stopped Barbados from being able to punch above its weight? And I have to say to them, I have to apologize for the fact that in the first time in our history since independence, we have had the worst administration ever to date. And you know what is worse? When you ask members of the Democratic Labour Party how they feel about this administration, they are the first ones to tell you that this administration has to go. They have never seen anything the likes of this administration before. And that is how I know and you know that you have to do the right thing whenever the bell is rung. But I come here tonight to talk about Parliament. I come here tonight to talk about a Parliament that does not resemble the Parliament which was started years ago. A Parliament where people know when they talk about Parliament, it is almost as though you're making mock sport inside the Parliament. The former Prime Minister of the Barbados Labour Party described it as being a porky Parliament, and rightfully so. Apart from the fact that members of the opposition hardly ever knew when legislation was coming to Parliament, that they would want to tell us, you know, when we were in office, it happened under you, so we don't have to give you notice. That is the level to which these people have sunk, where they cannot see that if things were done wrong before, that they have a responsibility to do things better. I always remind them that the motto of the Barbados Labour Party is a better life for our people, a better life for Barbadians. And anybody who takes up the reins of government must come to public life to do better than what has come before. It is not sufficient to come to Parliament and say, well, we can't do anything, or that we are going to see the things falling apart in Parliament and continue to behave as though it is business as usual. We have had a situation where this administration came to public life, telling the people of this country that they were going to introduce integrity legislation. Y'all remember that? That they were going to hold themselves accountable to the people of this country. That they were going to stamp out corruption in high places. The Prime Minister of this country even accused the Barbados Labour Party administration of trying to stick up the integrity legislation in the select committees. But imagine that after all of the grandstanding that the Democratic Labour Party administration has done, They have not been in a position to say to the public of Barbados that the legislation that they came to Parliament to pass, the Prevention of Corruption legislation, has been proclaimed. And they cannot do so even before the election is called. That is a promise that they made to the people of this country. And I hope that whenever the time comes, because you know the Barbados Labour Party has come out front and we have brought a draft integrity legislation bill. We are not waiting till we get to Parliament to hold our members to account or to let you then have to talk with us to talk about whether we are putting corruption legislation in place. We have taken it on ourselves to ensure that we are going to be held accountable to the people of this country. Because it can no longer be one rule for one and one rule for another. It cannot be that in St. Michael's office, if you don't have planning permission to extend your house to put on a little business because this government sent you home, that you are going to be bombarded by officers telling you you must remove your structure. But I can drive down on Spring Garden Highway and I can see a structure where there was supposed to be a stop notice for, filled with cement, bags of cement, and conducting business as if the law does not apply to them. And that is the situation that we find ourselves in this country today, where people are asking legitimate questions about whether there is one rule for people in high places and people in low places. And that madness has to stop in this country. And the Barbados Labour Party has given you the assurance that we will be governed as members of an administration to stamp out corruption in high places. And if a couple people got to get locked up for doing things that they did before, then they got to get locked up. You see, what has happened in this country in the last couple of years is that we have come to accept this new norm in Barbadian life. We can talk about things that are happening amongst ourselves, but we are not prepared to take a stand when things are going wrong. You have ministers of government making mock sport of Parliament, agreeing to things that when you meet them in the corridors of Parliament, they don't agree with. They tell you they cannot support the estimates. They cannot support the budget. But they find themselves voting to be able to hold on to political office in this country, making the rest of us seem as though we have come to public life to suck on the nipples of the public purse. They continue to loiter in the halls of Parliament for too long. And then to think that if that was not enough, then they want to now seem to give themselves an extra 90 days. And the question you have to ask yourselves tonight is for what? And for how long? Is it that they have more contracts that they want to issue? Is it that they have to put more things in place to make sure that when they lose the election, that they have money to take home? They haven't gotten enough money to take out of the public purse. And it is these things that require the people of this country to take a stand. This is not about taking a stand because you like me, Motley, or you like me, or you like members of the Barbados Labour Party, or you like Ronald Toppin. This is about taking a stand to say that this is not good enough, and you have had enough of what this Democratic Labour Party has been doing to this country. This is an administration that has come to public life. All my years of growing up, I heard about the Democratic Labour Party administration. That was the party for the poor people. But yet, every single policy that they have tried to bring in this country has either taxed the poor man, it has killed them in some cases, it has caused people to live from paycheck to paycheck. I have witnessed businesses closing in this country, businesses that were created under a Barbados Labour Party administration. There were times when you had entrepreneurs across the length and breadth of this country, and I know the people of this constituency would have benefited under Ronald Toppin as well. People left their homes doing hair and nails and branched out to make sure that they could set up and establish their businesses. And instead of this administration using the halls of parliament to be able to introduce legislation to benefit the masses, instead, if you are a vendor, if you are a farmer trying to produce crops, they have now introduced legislation requiring you to have to register and criminalizing you if you do not register that you are growing agricultural products. Instead of putting things in place to police the problem and to address the challenges and to deal with the fact that some of the things that they should have administratively in the Ministry of Agriculture, they do not have in place. They haven't put the resources to those things because they don't care about the small things that are going to allow you to eat a food and to make money in this country. They don't care about that. Instead, they know that there was a problem in relation to being able to track agricultural products in this country. They know there was a problem in relation to pre-deal larceny. But their solution is not to take action when they came to office, because the problem would have existed then. It is instead to wait 10 years, declaring year after year that they were going to do something, and then coming on the eve of an election and passing legislation to make you believe that they are doing something. And if that is not enough, you have an administration that came recently to increase the powers of the police. But when the Barbados Labour Party said to this administration, you have to deal with crime. You have to deal with the increase in crime in this country. They laughed at us. They say, y'all are being alarmists. Y'all don't love your country. Y'all don't love the Barbados. You're sending the wrong messages. But what is the message that is being sent when you give the police powers to be able to corner off areas in this country? And communities in my area, some of them will be cornered off, and there are others that will not be. So the people who stand most to be affected are the people who have the most to lose, and the people who have been speaking out and saying that these increased powers are going to affect them. Because it is okay for the Prime Minister to say to the country, well, you know, let's test the legislation, give it time to work. But there's a reality that people in my area and out here and areas in the city face and across this country. And it is not that easy to get an attorney, sometimes to pay an attorney, when you believe that your rights have been infringed, to be able to represent you. But the Prime Minister knows what he's talking about when he says get a lawyer. Because when the Speaker of the House get himself in trouble, he was quick to tell him get a lawyer. But that is not the fortune of many of you here tonight, to be able to afford the services of an attorney at law. So you will suck salt, get remanded to custody, and then have to fight tooth and nail through your families to be able to afford the services of an attorney at law, to be able to bring a constitutional motion to defend what should never have happened at all in this country. That is the type of Democratic Labour Party administration that has prevailed over this country. How can you try to do in the last 10 weeks things that you have never done in the last 10 years? This administration came to office and told the people of this country that we're living in terrace units, because I got some in Southeast and y'all got some down here as well. They told the people out here that if you lived in a terrace unit, that you would be able, if you were there occupying the property for 20 years, that you would be able to own a piece of the rock. But what they did not say to you is that they had not thought through the policy correctly. Because had they done so, they would have known that there were several encroachments in a lot of these communities in relation to these housing units. They would have known that they needed to correct things like electrical works. They would have known that they needed to dig wells in some of these areas. They must know that, and there are lawyers on their side, you know. So we are making it up. There are lawyers there that should have advised them. But you know, those lawyers that they have are too busy making hundreds of thousands of dollars for the big matters. But the matters where they should be advising the poor people of this country, and helping to protect the poor people of this country. They don't have time for that. There's no money in that to be able to advise them that they should not be conveying units or even promising to convey units that they have not made right before they hand them over. Nobody in this country buys anything, a house, unless you are buying it in the state that it is in. And that is not the arrangement with the National Housing Corporation. Nobody buys anything unless the vendor puts right the things that are needed to be put right before you purchase a property. So how can an administration saying that they are for the poor people come to you not only on the eve of this election, but on the eve of the last election and tell you that, look, we're going to hand out a couple conveyances to make you feel good? But we all understand the optics. We understand the smoke and mirrors of the campaign. We understand that those things are supposed to make you feel as though things are happening in this country, that they are busy at work. But if you pass through certain areas where they said they had projects going on, you will see overgrowth of bush in a lot of these districts in Constantine, St. George, and Parish Land. And even where the houses still have problems, you're going to find that they're going to come on the eve of an election and they're going to try to be passing out keys and conveyances to people to make you feel that all is well. But chances are the houses still have the same problems that needed to be fixed before they handed them over to you. And unfortunately, these are the things that have made a lot of our voters feel as though all political administrations are the same. But I want you to understand that the deficiencies of the Democratic Labour Party administration could never be compared to a Barbados Labour Party administration. And you see, I have a team and I have a leader with me that understands the plight of the people, not the small people alone and the middle class people, but she understands business in this country and how to get an economy going. And there's no way that I go with my leader across the length and breadth of this country that I do not stand proud in knowing that she has a vision for this country that needs to be fulfilled. There is nobody in this country that has done the work and put in the homework like Mia Amor Motley. And even if you have doubts about anybody in the Barbados Labour Party team, I assure you that she has the intellect to drive and to motivate and to inspire this entire country and her entire team to never do the things that this Democratic Labour Party has done to the people of this country. And that is what I want you to understand in this country tonight. Because what has obtained in this country must never become the norm. And what Parliament has been used to achieve by this Democratic Labour Party administration must never become the acceptable standard. I have watched the public gallery become filled only with individuals who are supporting the Democratic Labour Party. People don't come to Parliament to listen to parliamentary debates, because all you are going to hear is members of Parliament spending time talking about LEC certificates. You're going to hear them talking about all kinds of things that do not affect the daily living of the average Barbadian. You're going to hear them try to scandalize members of Parliament's names and candidates' names and offer nothing of substance in terms of a vision for the management of this country and this economy. They have presided over the demise of the Barbadian economy and indeed the Barbados society. You have members of Parliament not setting examples, from the Speaker at the highest level, who if he was in any other country in the world would have resigned. Not because he's guilty, but because the office of the Speaker is regarded internationally as one of the highest offices in the land. And because of what is perceived to be his impartiality, he is not supposed to be tainted by any rumors or allegations. In other countries across the world, people who have been accused of even minor matters less than him have resigned on the basis of standing on principles that say to the people of a country, we will not allow your country to be held in disrepute. But not this administration. They are not prepared to hold themselves accountable for anything. That is the nature of this administration. They have dismissed the issues of and the principles of good governance in relation to accountability, collective responsibility, individual responsibility for ministers. How can you have ministers of government coming to Parliament and speaking out against Democratic Labour Party policies, and you can tell me that people in this country can vote for them? The chairman of the infrastructural committee of the Democratic Labour Party, the member for St. Philip West, wrote a letter to the Prime Minister of this country denouncing the policies of this administration, indicating that things like constituency councils and constituency football and all of the social entitlement programs that this administration introduced on the eve of coming to office, when they knew how difficult things were in the global economy, they put themselves in a position where they came to office and they continued to spend. And then they want the goal to come back and tell the people of this country that it happened on the Barbados Labour Party, that we had so much money that we didn't spend the money wisely. But you've had 10 years. You have had 10 years that if you felt that there were things that we did not put right, you had a responsibility of the people of this, to the people of this country, not to lick out the money in the public purse, but to ensure that you spend the money wisely in the interest of the people that you represent. So like I tell you, they can take 90 days, they can take 9 days, it does not matter. I know that in St. Michael's Southeast, I got St. Michael's Southeast locked down. And I know that Ronald Toppin in this constituency is going to bring home this seat for the Barbados Labour Party, because we have people of integrity in this party, people who are led by a leader with integrity, and it is only a matter of time before right is going to be done by the people of this country. I thank you. I hear the music coming. You don't have to play it again. I thank you. Ensure that you vote for the Barbados Labour Party when that time comes. I thank you.